Have you heard of the Candle Access at Ariel's Light? This membership is perfect if you are looking for full-length podcasts and you want to catch the replays from the monthly gatherings. Your Candle Access also includes the Beacon Files, which are 40-plus hours of inner work content, as well as Biz Schooling for all the families homeschooling and running a business. There's the meditation series with the introduction to meditation, meditation for the parents, and meditation for the children, as well as our archive of 2023 with full-length podcasts and gathering replays. Join for only $5 a month at arielslight.org.
Welcome to this week's podcast. I'm Melisa Nielsen. Today, I'm just going to talk about myself a little bit. I've had a lot of questions, a lot of people asking about my health journey, what happened to me in August of 2023, how it's impacted things, affected things, what I'm doing now, all of those things. So I thought it would be easiest, rather than typing it out a bunch of times, that it would be easiest to just do a podcast about it. And I'm doing it not just to sort of share my journey, but also to really help anybody else that's having, any of these health challenges, because I think that, we can live in this world where we're doing all the right things and still stuff happens. And that's kind of where I've been. And, it's kind of funny because I've always been I've always been a person, at least in my adult life, I like trying to sort out the nuts and bolts of why something is happening rather than jumping to a pill. And, we live in a culture that is very pill heavy. And I'm not saying that pills are a bad thing, but I am saying we should always examine things, right? We should always sort of look at the big picture and look at the big picture with our health, how it affects our children, especially when we're nursing them and, having more babies, that kind of thing. And so I want to start there. Because I do think that you can do all the right things and still things happen. And so then it's about us really being aware of those things. So, I've been a mom since I was about 25 years old. And in those beginning years, I didn't know. So I was not as much on the health bandwagon until my son, my oldest son, had autism. And I have a lot of opinions about how I got autism. A lot of people ask me that question. We are previous vaxxers, so we don't do that anymore. And you are welcome to have your opinion. I have my opinion. It's totally fine. But that really woke me up to the space of, wait a minute. I have this perfectly healthy child, and now I don't. What's going on here? What am I not seeing big picture wise? So, like I said, I dove into this space, and in diving into this space, I went down the Weston A. Price train. I started looking at all of these other places where, they were talking about how to feed your family. And that was, 27 years ago, or 25 years ago. And so I was just already consuming this information. I did a whole bunch of dietary changes for us at the time. For a long time, my son was gluten intolerant, although they didn't really have those words then, which sounds crazy. But, if I asked if something was gluten-free, people would look at you like you were from Mars. And now you can ask if something's gluten-free, and of course people know. So for a long time, he was gluten-free and dairy-free, and that really helped him in that journey with, with his recovery. Doesn't mean doesn't have autism, but it just means that he had a lot of different things happen because of those choices that we made about his diet. And, I had to really fight for those choices. So, in that time of, I had 3 children and he was my oldest. And in there I had gotten a divorce, and my ex-husband was not on board with the dietary choices. It wasn't until I had to do something official to make him be on board. And that was a turning point for us with my son. And, so I had been this mom that was very much into the nourishing traditions, diet, the way of looking at things fermentation, making my own bread, all of the things, all of the the things that are often synonymous with having a Waldorf home. I was already doing those things. And so, we had had this walk of eating really good food for forever, from pretty much the beginning of their lives. In the meantime, I remarried, and we had a lot of conflict with my ex-husband, and that was a really big stressor for me. And, as a choleric, I would love to do a temperament study on disease things, because I think that a lot of heart attacks would probably be melancholics. A lot of strokes would probably be cholerics. I think there would be a lot of really interesting information that could come from a study like that. But anyway, so, my current husband, Eric, that, runs all the things with us. So he and I married, as of the recording of this, about 19 years ago. So he's sort of stepped into this space where, these were the things that we were doing. And it was funny because we always joke that he was like a cheeseburger guy. He was a single guy for a long time. So he just ate what he ate. But then as he comes into our lives, it changed the way he ate too. And so we all sort of ate this whole food diet, ate as much organic as possible then, because there wasn't a lot of organic. And, I cooked just about everything from scratch at home. And so it was only because I couldn't control stress that I had the stroke that I had 10 years ago. So it will be 10 years this April. We're in April right now, this month. So at the end of this month, it will be 10 years. And I'm recording this in 2024. It will be 10 years since I had that stroke. And when I had that stroke, I remember, you may have heard this story, but I could not, I had a headache that wouldn't go away, and I had what I thought was heartburn that wouldn't go away. And I had it for, probably almost a month. And then finally I was like, I give, let's go to a doc in a box place. And, the urgent care. And I got there, and my blood pressure was 260 over 170. We're living in San Diego at the time. And so being in San Diego, there were a lot of retired military that were running a lot of the medical stuff. So a lot of the doctors had been military doctors. And the guy that was the doctor because it was late at night, the guy that was the doctor at the urgent care was this big, giant Marine guy, muscular, big, buff. And he looked at my blood pressure and he said, you have two choices. I will call you an ambulance to get you to the hospital, or you go right now and I'm going to call ahead. So I hadn't had the stroke yet. My husband took us to the hospital right away. They were ready for us when I got there. I had the stroke in the emergency room. And so I just remember there was a period of time where I remember everything, and then there's this blank period of time. And pardon me. So there's this blank period of time, and I was in the hospital for about 11 days then. And for the first 7 to 10 days, they could not control my blood pressure. So I was on a lot of medication, but they did a lot of MRIs. They looked at my heart at that point. Everything seemed fine. And they sent me home with the 21 pills a day. And I am a natural gal. That's not who I am. So it was very important to me to figure out, okay, I had this period of stress that got me here. How do I get off of these pills now? So very quickly, within the first year, I had weaned myself down through a lot of stress management and a lot of meditation. I had weaned myself down to just taking one pill twice a day. And so for 8 years, that's what I did. I took one pill twice a day. I talk about meditation a lot. So that's where a lot of that came from, because without meditation, I don't know how I could have survived a lot of that space. So meditation helped me learn how to have a better relationship with stress. It helped me learn how to not let things get under my skin so much. Totally not perfect. Totally lose my shiznit every now and again. But it really helped me sort of be in a space of then being able to eventually come off that last pill. So about 2 years ago, I went off that last pill, and Again, I meditate like usually 1 to 2 hours a day. And so, and I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but that was what I needed and what our family needed so that I could, be the helm of our business and also like do the work that I feel called here to do, because I feel like I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be not just sharing Waldorf education, but I'm also a parent coach and a marriage and family coach. And, we started a ministry last year. So there's a lot of callings that I truly believe that I have, and I can't do those things if I'm dead. So I had to really come up with some new skills, and meditation was a big one. So, I've been meditating for all this time. And in June of last year, June of 2023, we had kind of a perfect storm. I hadn't been feeling great. I think in January of 2023, I went on a trip to teach in Texas. And I think I picked something up there that I never fully got rid of. And I felt really run down. I could not sort that out. So I felt like I was on this like wave of sick and well for, pardon me, for the first 6 months of the year. Like I could not sort it out. And then it just got worse and I started having headaches. And at first it wasn't a big deal. And then Excedrin became my friend, which is not my norm at all. And it probably became my friend for too long, because I think that's what ended up happening to me. So June, we actually, I don't know if y'all remember if you were following us. So my husband lost a dear childhood friend. And so he was going to get on a plane and fly to Idaho for this funeral. And the kids and I decided we were going to drive and then meet him there and then do our summer vacation. So this was like this second week in June. The kids and I drove like 2,000 miles in 4 days, which is crazy, but we had a great time. I would not change that for anything. So even though I wasn't feeling great, I would not change it for anything, because, when you have time with your kids like that and it's fun time and it's good time, but it's just kind of funny because it was 2 kids, a dog, and a hedgehog on this long trek. And we had a wonderful time together. And then after we met up with Eric, we had a wonderful time as a family for our family vacation. So we got home about the first week in July, and I still wasn't feeling right. And I was going to community acupuncture and just trying to figure out how I could get my headaches under control, because I didn't want to take all these drugs. And that I felt like I was doing what I needed to do. In looking back, would I do something different? Maybe. I would have, probably would have sought some medical help quicker. But I had been able to like sort it out before, so it wasn't like I didn't think I could do it. So it wasn't neglectful from that standpoint. People ask me that all the time. Like, what should you have done? I don't know, but I do know that there was the last weekend in August, all of a sudden, and I thought I was having like hydration issues, and it was so crazy because I was drinking a lot of electrolytes, drinking plenty of water, urinating. I wasn't swollen. There was no swelling or anything like that. It had no indication that I was having a kidney issue. And so the last weekend in August, I just remember all of a sudden I had a day where I was like super dizzy, and then I couldn't keep anything down. And I remember as I was laying on the bathroom floor next to the toilet, which thankfully my children are really good at making sure it's clean. That's always been my rule. Like, how clean does it need to be? It needs to be clean enough in case somebody needs to barf in it, because it can't be dirty. So I just remember like laying there thinking, okay, what happens if I go to the hospital? How does this look? What happened before? How, like trying to get my bearings, because if you go into those situations and you don't have your bearings, often it's really easy to get like steamrolled. So I thought I had my bearings, and we decided to go to urgent care here. And then when I got to urgent care, my blood pressure wasn't nearly as bad as it was, 10 years ago, but it was pretty high. And they told me to go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital, and, thankfully, like in the ER, the doctors in the ER were osteopaths. So when I said things like, I've spent the last 8 years weaning off this pill and through meditation, they were like, like, I get it. We get it. It wasn't until I got on the floor with the MDs that they were like, you're crazy. And really, they were really questioning me. And so they checked me all in, and at first they thought I had a stroke and a heart attack. But the longer I had been there and the more scans that they did, they actually then sort of decided that was probably old stuff that they saw. And so, as we got my blood pressure under control, then the nephrologist comes in and tells me that he said, I think you are in stage 5 kidney disease. You need a kidney transplant. We're going to start you on all this stuff. And I was like, wait, hold on. Like, had never been any issue. And so somewhere in there was a change. And whether it was the Excedrin that I was taking, which is very possible, whether it was the fact that I was dehydrated and couldn't catch that up, we won't know. I do know that the things that they gave me while I was there made it worse. And so, and I have to tell you that this is just my experience. This is not medical advice. This is just my experience because people have asked. So in my experience, I spend a lot of time in prayer. And, I also really firmly believe that when there's something that's major in your life, that you ask other people, that you don't just run and go, okay, let's do that. When you have the ability to, you ask other people, you get a second opinion. And I was having a really hard time getting a second opinion in the hospital. The nephrologist was not very helpful in that regard. And then also at the same time, there was a hurricane. So I was in the hospital longer than I needed to be, I think, because, a lot of things were shut down for several days, like for 4 days over the weekend while this hurricane passed through here. Meantime, Eric is going from the home to the hospital like twice a day. And, children are nervous. Things are all uprooted. When they come to see me, I've got tubes everywhere. I had a heart line, and which I didn't have the first time. I'm not even sure why they gave me the heart line, except for I think that they were having a really hard time drawing my blood. And so they wanted an easy way to do that, which I don't know if you've ever seen a heart line, but they put it in right about here, and it's about this long. I don't even remember when they inserted it. I must have really been gone. But so I spent some days there, and they wanted to do a lot of things to my kidneys, and the nephrologist wanted to cut my kidneys up, do a biopsy, and do a bunch of radiation that would totally kill my kidneys, and it just didn't feel right. All of it felt wrong. And again, this is not medical advice, because you have to do you. This is what we did. And I finally just said, listen, I don't feel right about any of these tests. I don't feel right about any of it. So could you just give me some medication? Let me go home and let me think. Because you're still going to be here if I come back. That was the whole thing. I thought, I'll go home and do some research, get a second opinion. And then if we end up back in your office, we end up back in your office. Obviously, if I've been in what he said was stage 5 kidney failure for Lord knows how long, I don't think it was that long, then I have a little bit of time. I have some time to go home and do this. People actually live in kidney failure for a long time and don't know it. So I came home, I was on a ton of drugs, was trying to navigate all of that space. trying to navigate which ones I knew I needed to keep, which ones I was having allergic reactions to, because that's another crazy, one reason why I'm really careful with pharmaceuticals is because there are several that I'm allergic to. And one that they gave me, I left the hospital and I gained 20 pounds in 4 days. I was highly allergic to it. And it took 4 months to get all that water off. And so I just remember my sleep was all messed up and everybody would go to bed and then I'd be like wide awake because my sleep was mixed up because of the pills. And so I would just spend the nighttime, I would sit on my phone and just like research, tons of research. And some of you have like sent me the best information, the best books to read. And I'm so thankful for those that have done that, because those were great things that sort of kept me going in those nights. But on about the second or third week that I was home, and I was up and going through on about page 3 of a Google search that I was doing on kidney, on alternative kidney therapies, I came across Way Labs, Way Kidney Institute actually, and it's WEI Kidney Institute in case you know somebody who needs them. They are a traditional Chinese medicine, like herbal laboratory. And so I was going through their website and I was looking at all of these numbers. When I left the hospital, my EGFR, for those of you who know kidney stuff, was less than 5, which is not good. It's supposed to be 60 or above. And so, and what's crazy is the kidney diets are really confusing and very contradictory. So, as I'm researching, like, what should I be eating? It also did not feel right to me, to Melisa Nielsen, not to you, not to anybody else, but it did not feel right to me to go down some of the roads that I was seeing and some of the alternative therapies that I was seeing. I didn't feel like I needed to become a vegan in order to go down this path. And again, that might be your path, and that's okay. I think we're all built very differently. And I think we are all, if we're all looking at our ancestry, we're all built in a different way and we all have different needs. And any fad or do this only this way, do that often is not great for our bodies. So I had found this website, and I actually found a doctor that's 2 hours for me. And you may have seen him on our Instagram, or seen me on his Instagram. And I went, and they are a godsend. He is a traditional Chinese medicine acupuncturist, master, amazing human being. I cannot recommend them enough. If you are in Florida or in the Orlando area, it is Orlando Acupuncture. They are amazing human beings there. And I went and I started with him with the Chinese herbs and with the needles every Friday. Every Friday we get in the car and we drive 2 hours to see him, 2 hours home. It's a journey every week. It's not cheap, but I am like so thankful that we have the means from the work that we do to be able to do that. Because I know there's a lot of people who don't have that opportunity. So we've been doing that since September, and I get my blood drawn now about once every 6 weeks. But my kidney stage has gone from stage 5 to stage 3. And, a lot of people can live with stage 3 for their entire lives, but I'm not done. We're going to keep on going. We're going to keep going and see how far we can go with this healing journey. But on the flip side of that too, I feel better than I felt in more than 5 years. I feel amazing. I'm enjoying life. We are, I'm definitely still meditating, doing Qigong now, which has been a lot of fun to learn and a very meditative practice. And, we're having a lot of fun as a family still. Like, just like before, only I feel way better. And often mom goes with the least amount of care, and it's not because anybody in the family doesn't care. It's because she's so busy worrying about everybody else. So as I'm finishing this up, I just want to say, if you are in a spot where you need care, get the care. Get the care. Do what you need to do. And if you know somebody who is having kidney trouble or any kind of trouble that is not like responding to mainstream medicine, look at acupuncture. I cannot say enough about it as a modality and about how it has really worked to heal me. And I will say, like, after I had my stroke 10 years ago, acupuncture was part of the thing that knit my brain back together. I was doing acupuncture a ton back then. Would go every week, and I've done that for a long time. But this is a whole other level. So if you are really struggling, find somebody that is a traditional Chinese medicine acupuncturist and listen to your body and listen to your heart and talk to God and ask, what should my next step be? Because that's really what's important, is like finding those pieces. And then, I do have somebody that manages my medication still, because I'm not off of my medications right now. I'm on 4 blood pressure medicines, which is a lot, and hopefully reducing soon. But I do have an osteopath that manages my medications, and she is all about what we're doing. She is like a huge supporter of what we're doing. And she was the first thing she said to me was, I know meditation works, so I know you can do this. And I just remember thinking that's what I needed to hear. And the funny thing about my acupuncturist is, on the very first appointment, I was talking to him about my frustration about kidney diets. And he's like, how about you just throw that out? Tell me what you eat, and we'll go from there. And I was telling him, he said, well, there's this book called Nourishing Traditions. And I laughed so hard. I said, I have that book at home on my shelf. I use that book. I've raised my family on that book. He's like, well, go eat that way. Just eat a varied diet. Be good to yourself. And don't overdo one way or the other. Don't fall to fads or anything like that. Just don't overdo. Just eat a balanced diet. So that's all I have to say today. I have so many people that have asked me. And so maybe this podcast interests you, maybe it doesn't. But this has been the journey that we're on. I really appreciate everybody who's prayed for us, as a family who's prayed for me. I definitely feel like I have been lifted up, and I appreciate it so, so, so much. And I pray for you that you have the help that you need and that you're on the path that you need to be. And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.
Homeschool parents, this is a message for you. As a homeschooler, I know you work hard for us. You have many different things to manage.
Our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program is your roadmap to a successful Waldorf homeschool journey. Gain the confidence you need to be the teacher your child wants and transform your homeschool experience. Homeschooling with Waldorf Essentials is one like no other. You not only have curriculum options, you can also add our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program onto your curriculum. What's in the Thinking, Feeling, Willing program? Rhythm, inner work, temperament, the Waldorf curriculum, learning and strengthening your skills in music, circle time, form drawing, handwork, painting, drawing, modeling, festivals, reading, writing, spelling, eurythmy and movement, and our bonus content. Something else you'll get when you join Waldorf Essentials that you will not find anywhere else is the community, and we all need that as homeschoolers.
This is your invitation to fill your cup. We know you're rooting for us. We are rooting for you too.